The lira so far on Monday hits a record low again against the dollar during Asian-Pacific trade.
I'm afraid I'm a bit pessimistic about the outcome of this crisis because all the measures that need to be taken by the Turkish government are quite contrary to what President Erdogan has pledged so far.
Well, he could use threats. He has a lot of leverage in certain areas, perhaps, or if not a lot, at least some leverage. He could use the migrant threat. Turkey is right now home to 3.5 million estimated Syrian refugees.
The main worry here is that you have some European banks that are exposed to the Turkish crisis. They're owed money by the Turkish banks.
The latest series of sanctions and doubling of tariffs on imported Turkish metals have accelerated the currency's decline. But there's also concern over Recep Tayyip Erdogan's own economic policies.
Mass arrests, soaring prices, a collapsing currency. Over the past years, Turkey hasn't been managing a crisis, it's been burying it. But it's too late now. The economy's bleeding, democracy is on life support, and civil unrest is growing louder. All signs point to 2026 as the breaking point. In this video, we will discuss the chaos behind the headlines and why the clock is ticking and how it all started.
Turkey's annual inflation rate jumped to more than 36% in December. That's the highest level in almost 2 decades. The value of the Turkish lira has slumped to record lows.
Turkey looks like a modern state from the outside. It's got sky-high towers, billion-dollar airports, and mega mosques that pierce the skyline. But beneath the surface, there's a perfect storm of political dictatorship, economic collapse, and social pressure building day by day. Since the failed coup in 2016, President Erdogan has dismantled the democratic institutions, jailing critics, rewriting laws, and tightening control over the media. In parallel, inflation has skyrocketed, making basic goods unaffordable, while the Turkish lira has lost over 80% of its value since 2018.
Global financial markets continue to be rattled by the economic crisis in Turkey. The country's currency has plunged to a record low against the US dollar.
Today, Turks are being jailed for tweets, journalists are vanishing, and millions are struggling to afford bread. The youth are leaving, investors are fleeing, and trust in the system is collapsing. This isn't just one crisis, it's multiple, all colliding at once. And 2026 could be the year when it all unravels.
The political crisis in Turkey is deepening with each passing day after the arrest of Istanbul mayor. Protesters are out of the streets in support of Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is facing charges of corruption, graft, and aiding terror outfits.
When Recep Tayyip Erdogan first rose to power in the early 2000s, he was initially viewed as a moderate leader, focused on economic growth, political reform, and bringing stability. But that image quickly faded. Over the past decade, he's turned Turkey into a one-man show. After surviving a failed coup in 2016, Erdogan declared a state of emergency that lasted 2 years. During that time, 300,000 civil servants were either fired or jailed. Nearly 3,000 judges were removed. Over 160 media outlets were shut down. Human Rights Watch labeled Turkey as one of the world's biggest jailers of journalists. Then came the 2017 constitutional referendum, turning Turkey from a parliamentary democracy into a presidential system controlled almost entirely by Erdogan. Courts became loyal, not fair. Elections became controlled, not competitive. And the opposition, criminalized. By 2024, Erdogan's political party had lost key mayoral seats in cities like Istanbul and Ankara. But instead of changing course, the government tightened its grip. Peaceful protests were met with riot police, tear gas, and mass arrests. With every path to peaceful change blocked, Turkey is now drifting into a full-blown legitimacy crisis. 2026 isn't just another year, it's an election year. And with the economy in free fall, even a small spark, such as a rigged election, a viral protest, or another economic shock, could trigger something much bigger. When the ballot box is broken, the streets become the only outlet.
Global markets are worried that there could be more turmoil. The lira so far on Monday hits a record low again against the dollar during Asian-Pacific trade. It did recover somewhat afterwards, but this follows the 20% fall last week, and as we've heard, it's lost almost half its value this year.
Turkey's economy isn't just struggling, it's spiraling. Since 2018, the Turkish lira has lost over 80% of its value. The country is experiencing one of the highest inflation rates globally, and real-world prices feel much worse. Eggs that cost 1 lira in 2015 now cost 7. A kilo of onions? Otu's lira. But why is this happening? mainly because Erdogan believes that cutting interest rates controls inflation, which is the opposite of what economists recommend. He has forced the central bank to slash interest rates even as inflation surged, firing multiple central bank governors for defying him and replacing them with loyalists. Foreign investors pulled out, small businesses shut down, and while mega mosques and billion-dollar airports kept going up, millions of Turks were falling into poverty. The wealthy and well-connected got government bailouts. Everyone else got crushed. Even middle-class families are now skipping meat, rationing electricity, and moving in with relatives, signs of just how deep the crisis has cut. The government has tried to mask this with short-term fixes, handing out cash before elections, rent controls, and leaning on allies like Qatar or Russia for currency swaps. But none of these are sustainable. Turkey's foreign reserves remain dangerously low, and external debt at over $470 billion is a ticking time bomb. Confidence in the banking system is eroding. Many Turks are converting their lira into dollars or gold, fearing the next devaluation. Others are simply leaving the country, especially the educated youth, causing a devastating brain drain. This isn't just economic failure, it's the theft of an entire generation's future.
They are the largest anti-government protests in Turkey for many years, revealing the disquiet of many with a leader who's been at the head of government for more than 2 decades. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is trying to keep a lid on the demonstrations, with thousands of people gathering again in Istanbul tonight, following the arrest of the city's mayor last week.
And when an entire generation loses hope in the future, it doesn't just break the economy, it fractures the society. As wages stagnate and prices explode, daily life for millions has become a quiet kind of war. People are not just frustrated, they're exhausted, angry, and increasingly hopeless. In major cities like Istanbul and Izmir, rents have tripled. A 2-bedroom apartment now costs more than the average monthly wage. Meanwhile, in rural areas, farmers are priced out of diesel, fertilizer, and other inputs, leading to crushing debts, food shortages, and further price spikes. Mental health crises are rising. Turkey saw a record high in suicides in 2024 amid the ongoing economic turmoil, a grim reflection of a population pushed beyond its limit. Yet even as despair spreads, peaceful protests are met with riot police, water cannons, and mass arrests. Turkey's prison population has doubled in the past decade, with thousands jailed for vague crimes like insulting the president or spreading disinformation. Even posting a meme can land you in court. And when peaceful dissent becomes criminalized, the only alternative left is rage. Social trust is crumbling. Conversations are cautious. People avoid talking politics at work, at school, and even at the dinner table. Friends fall out over Erdogan. Neighbors report neighbors. Families are split down the middle. Ethnic tensions are also escalating. Turkey's long-running conflict with its Kurdish population has flared up again, with Kurdish-majority regions facing heavier military crackdowns, political bans, and mass arrests. The pro-Kurdish HDP party has been nearly dismantled, and peaceful activism is increasingly labeled as terrorism. This isn't just unrest, it's a collapse in slow motion, and every day the pressure builds.
The situation is calm compared to yesterday. Yesterday, all day long, there were clashes in the Syrian side of the border, and it was easily heard from that side of the border.
But the fallout isn't stopping at Turkey's borders. It's becoming a regional time bomb with global implications. For years, Erdogan has been trying to balance conflicting alliances, getting closer to Russia while still part of NATO, clashing with EU leaders over human rights, and using the refugee crisis as a bargaining tool. Today, over 4 million refugees, mostly from Syria and Afghanistan, live in Turkey, fueling tensions in both cities and rural areas. Public resentment is growing, and xenophobic anger is on the rise. At the same time, Turkish forces are still active in northern Syria, and tensions with Greece over gas reserves and maritime borders in the eastern Mediterranean haven't cooled. And if the internal collapse speeds up, the fallout won't stay within its borders. A failing state on NATO's frontier could trigger a regional crisis, shaking Europe and the Middle East. 2026 isn't just another year in Turkey's calendar, it could be the tipping point. It's an election year, and under normal circumstances, that would mean hope, debate, and the possibility of change. But in Erdogan's Turkey, elections are no longer free or fair. The ballot box is cracked, the media is being silenced, and the opposition is barely allowed to breathe. But this time, the stakes are far higher. The economy is collapsing, rents are sky high, and unemployment is exploding. Mental health is in crisis. Millions are angry and desperate. And when people can't protest, can't vote, can't even live peacefully, they eventually explode. If Erdogan tightens his grip even further, if another election is seen as rigged, or if the economy takes one more major hit, the backlash could be massive. Widespread riots, civil unrest, mass strikes, even a second coup attempt isn't off the table. 2026 might be Erdogan's final test, or Turkey's first real wake-up call in years. Because when every peaceful option is blocked, people don't just give up, they push back, hard. Turkey is standing on a cliff, and the next year might decide whether it steps back or falls. The pressure is real, the clock is ticking. And if history has taught us anything, it's this. When a system blocks every way forward, the people make their own. So, what do you think? Can Turkey chart a new course, or has it already passed the point of no return? Is this just more political chaos, or the calm before something far bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this made you think, give it a like, and hit subscribe for more eye-openers. See you in the next one.